There you go. All right, guys, I am really excited to be here today. My name is Shelly Jo Wallstrom, and I am the owner of Shelly Jo Hypno Aminos, and I am glad that you guys are joining me today at this first Zoom party ever. Well, not ever, but for me. We are just really excited to be here and to share what amino acids have done in my life and in a couple of my clients, Kaylee Nelson and Donna Connor, and it's been a phenomenal year. And so this is why we want to share, because I am very passionate about what amino acids can do for people, and yet they're not really spoken about very often. So a lot of times I'll go to speak at conferences and most people have never heard about them. They've heard about amino acids. Yes, there's a lot of different amino acids, and some of them we create in our bodies and others we get from supplements or for food. Most people are aware of the ones that you're going to need for your muscles, and these are the ones that are specific for your brain. I want to kind of give you an idea of why I am so passionate about amino acids and what it's done for my life and for my great clients here. I am a hypnotherapist. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I've been one for about 3 years. And I love it. So a lot of people have kind of crazy ideas of what hypnotherapy is, and you know, they think that, oh my gosh, you're going to read my mind, or you're going to make me do something that I wouldn't want to do, or you're going to control my mind. And I always say, you know, if I could control somebody's mind, I would have controlled my daughters when they were growing up, right? Well, it's not even an option. That's not how it works. Anybody can be hypnotized or nobody can be hypnotized. It all depends on the person. But what it does is it's working with your thoughts. And we have conscious thoughts and we have subconscious thoughts. And when they are not in alignment due to different stories, it makes it really hard to get things accomplished, because a lot of times we're living with blocks or we're living with false stories. And so with hypnotherapy, what we're doing, it's a natural thing. You go down every night, and you know that really nice spot where you're like, oh, this is so heavenly, and you know, your mind's awake, but your body just feels so relaxed. It's like this blissful state. Well, that's where hypnosis happens, is in that blissful state, and then you find yourself asleep, and then as you're waking up the next morning, that same state, you're like, this is so wonderful, if I could just stay here, that'd be heaven. And then next thing you know, you're awake. Well, that's where it is. So it's a natural process that we go through every night, and what it is just getting an idea of what the conscious and subconscious are thinking and how to get rid of those triggers. I absolutely love it. I've seen incredible stories on how it helps. The thing is that when I first started, and that was my only tool, I would have a few clients that, you know, they had the desire to release and to get through these blocks and to work with anxiety and anxiousness and all these feelings. And yet, you know, I'd work with them and then they'd come back, and it was like 50 first dates. And I kept thinking to myself, you know what? Something is missing. I couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't know. First I thought it was me. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. I'm doing the same thing with them that I do with everybody. So something is missing. I couldn't figure it out. At the same time, I have a daughter who is an addict. She is, right now she's in recovery, which is amazing. But back in 2017, we'd gone through a really hard process with her. At age 6, she was diagnosed with anxiety. And as parents, we did what most parents do. We went to the doctor and we got her on some med. And this is my disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose, and I don't prescribe. I recommend. And that's just one thing I want to let you know, that whatever I teach today, you are also in charge of your body. But at 6, when she was diagnosed with anxiety, you know, we got her on some meds, just like any other, mother would do. And she just didn't feel right. And we went from med to med to doctor to med to doctor. And one day at age 15, she came to me and said, Mom, I'm tired of being a doctor's science project. I just want to feel normal. And it was at that moment I knew in my heart that if she was ever introduced to drugs and alcohol, I absolutely knew that she would be instantly addicted, which she was. It started out with alcohol, and then it went to marijuana, and then it went to meth. And we lived a literal hell as watching our beautiful daughter spiral from 15 up till about age 23, worrying. You know, I could watch her phone and know that she was headed down to the homeless shelter to get drugs and alcohol, and wondering whether I was going to get a phone call that she was either dead or she'd killed somebody or she was in jail. And I would just pray for answers. I didn't have answers. I did not know how to help her. In 2017, in May, she was arrested. That was the second time. And when she got out, she was determined to stay clean. And she was doing everything she could. And what would happen is she would stay clean, and then she'd relapse, and she'd stay clean, and then she'd relapse. And it was this process that I learned so much about addiction, that most of the time they're miserable. They don't want to feel like they do. And second of all, they're just self-medicating because something isn't right. And they're looking for something to make them feel normal. When they get in trouble or they decide to go to clean up doesn't mean that they feel good. It means they're just kind of white knuckling it and just getting through this. I've got to stay clean, either because the judge told me to, their parents told them to. They've been through this process so much that they're like, I don't want to do this. But it doesn't mean that they feel good. They're still looking for something to make them feel good. Well, in October of 2017, I was looking for answers. And there happened to be a story on Gephardt. He's a local TV reporter who does stories that on consumer stories. And he was doing a story on how they are now using amino acids in recovery centers. And they use large amounts of amino acids through an IV. And what they're finding is after 3 days, the addict's cravings start to go away. And after 10 days, they're almost completely gone. And they have about an 85% rate of recovery, which to me was phenomenal. But it's also $1,000 a day. And so I thought to myself, okay, if that was my only answer, you know, I would do everything I could. But I thought to myself, you know, the research is somewhere, and I knew that there were supplements. And I thought to myself, well, if I could give my daughter large amounts of amino acids in supplements, then it would be all better. And I called my son-in-law, who's a nurse, and said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give her large doses of amino acids. You just need to tell me how much to give her. And luckily, he was very wise and said, you can't just throw amino acids at people. You need to understand where they come, how to work with them. And I rolled my eyes and thought, yeah, whatever. Actually, I thought, you know, that's really some great advice. So I Googled some more, and I found a recovery unit down in Florida that was using the supplements. And I called and said, look, I have a daughter who's an addict, and she needs help. I'm a hypnotherapist. I have clients that, for whatever reason, I cannot get them to release and to let go of all these stories. Can you please give me some information? And luckily he said to me, you know what? I'll do one step better. In 2 weeks, there's a class in Salt Lake. And you're going to learn everything you need to know about amino acids and how to make them work. And to me, that was an answer to my prayer, because I went to that class, and the funny thing is when I got there the very first time, I was late, and I walk in, and the room is filled, and the only place I could find to sit was at the front of the room. And I think, Deborah, you were there at that time, if I remember right. And I sat down in a chair that was in the front, and the teachers made a comment about something in the class. And she made the comment about the guy I talked about in the guy sitting right next to me, and it ended up being the same guy that I had talked to in Florida. So I thought, okay, I am listening. I get it. I'm supposed to be here. And what I learned from that class just has totally changed my life, my family's life, and so many other people that I want to share this message. And because of that, I went in and became a certified recovery nutrition coach so that I can work with these amino acids and really specialize and help people with them. Now, the crazy thing is, yes, they help with addiction. And that was a really cool thing, because for the first time in a long time, I had my daughter back, and it was phenomenal. But what I also realized is that when I got done with this class, I was super excited that I was giving them to everybody, anybody I could think of. Some people with anxiety, depression, people didn't have energy, people that wanted to lose weight. And the results were phenomenal. In fact, for me, I was a sugar addict, and I'm also was addicted to caffeine. I liked Diet Cokes. And once I learned about which amino acids to take, I no longer take the caffeine. I don't use Diet Coke anymore. Not that I'm saying that it's bad or that somebody else has to take it, but for me, I didn't need it anymore. Now, I do like sugar, but now I like the taste of it, not because it's me. But it made such a huge impact on my life that I went out and started speaking at conferences and telling anybody I could about how I could share this information. And this is where I want to introduce Donna Connor and Kaylee Nelson. Now, Donna, I'm going to let you go first, because Donna is a client of mine that I met last December. And we were in Provo, and she wanted to learn about, I just spoken, and she came up to me and wanted to learn about the amino acids. So Donna, go ahead and tell them your story. Oh, I don't hear you. Oh, unmute. Hold on.
I unmuted. I'm good.
Okay, good. Okay.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah, thank you for being here and being interested in hearing our stories. In December, my daughter had given me tickets to attend this conference in Provo that Shelly was speaking at. And my daughter had said that she had heard great things and that I ought to go to this class. And I'm so glad I did. Shelly's story was so intriguing to me. And it really hit home somewhere for me. You know, those, you hear something and it touches your heart, and her message didn't even apply to me at the time, but it touched something. And so I filled out her intake form because she handed it out in class. And I hope if you guys haven't already done it, do so, because it's so enlightening. I knew I was having some hormonal issues. I knew I was angry all the time and frustrated all the time, tired all the time, and I wanted to lose some weight, and I was always under stress. And so I filled out that intake form, and it was so interesting to me because I'm a sugar-aholic and carbaholic. That was my go-to. I never drank, never did drugs. I went for food. That was my comfort. That was how I settled my emotions. And then of course the next day there's regret. And so when I went through that intake form, I had such high numbers in certain areas, and I had lower ones in other ones. And so she offered a special for $20 to meet with her at the show for 20 minutes. And so I jumped on that and met with her and went over, because I want to know what these numbers meant, you know what I mean, and what these aminos could actually do for each area. I ended up buying the full set. And she taught me how to slowly incorporate one, figure out what my dosage was, where I felt a difference based on what the amino acid was. And once I found that dosage, and I could stay on that and then add another one. And so by the end of 2 weeks, though, I was already on taking each one of the products, and I had already seen such a huge difference in my ability to, now my family's going to argue this one, but to handle stress and to not come unhinged as easily. But I noticed an immediate difference on my attitude and how it helped regulate my emotions. And then at the end of December, I found a nutrition plan that worked for me. And between the amino acids, which help regulate and complement everything that I'm doing, I've lost 63 pounds so far since December 26th.
Yay!
And I just ran into some friends that I haven't seen in a couple months, and they just about came unglued and were so excited for me and were shocked. And so it's really fun to have that experience. And so I still have more to go, but I can't see my future without them. And I'm not saying it becomes addictive, but it does become addictive to be a better person and to be able to handle life better. And so I can tell on days I went on a trip and I didn't have someone with me, and I felt the difference on those days that I was gone. And it felt good to get back on them and to regulate. My kids, you know, I tease that my kids would argue, but even my kids have said many times that they can tell a difference when I'm taking them. And so I can't thank Shelly enough for being willing to share her story, for her daughter to be willing to have her mom share her story. She's made a difference in my life. And that's just, you know, it's improved my family and it's improved my outlook on life. And I'm very grateful for them.
Thanks, girl. Love you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Kaylee, why don't you tell your story now a little bit?
Absolutely, thank you. And for the record, I'm not at home, so I kind of want to plead innocent, plead the fifth, whatever it may be, on the whole deciding whether or not mom's angry anymore. So, but yeah, no, definitely. Like, I've seen the effect there, and I think it was October of last year, there was a conference that I went to, and I didn't actually get to see Shelly speak at that particular conference, but just friends that I went and saw her, and so it seemed something that my mom would be interested in, and then she got into it, and then she got me into it, and I had the opportunity to go a couple months ago, I think in March, to another conference in Logan where I got to connect with Shelly. And kind of my background is a year ago in May, I was admitted to a behavioral health center after attempted suicide for a week stay, where they kind of just threw a bunch of drugs at me, and they're like, let's experiment and see if we can get you somewhat normal and functioning in society. And of course, you know, there was different little counseling and tips and tricks, and just like, let's get you functioning as much as we can. But a lot of it was just kind of quick fixes, and let's do the best we can in as short as time as we can. And from there, it was a year-long process of medication appointments and tweaking things. And as much as we tweak stuff, I never quite felt like we were finding what we needed. I was diagnosed with severe depression, panic disorder and anxiety, as well as OCD. And the OCD and depression, we were kind of able to get at bay, but I kept having these panic attacks, and it didn't matter what I was on. I kept having these panic attacks that would just put me out all day, and I could not function. And after talking with Shelly almost a year later, that in March, I started off with my one, only, and favorite, GABA. It will take come heck or high water to separate me from my GABA, because literally I started taking it, and from that day forward, I have yet to have a panic attack. And anytime I feel the symptoms rising, I just take a few tablets, and it calms down within a couple of hours tops. That I can kind of settle down. That with some of my breathing techniques and mindfulness techniques, I can get off any panic attack before it ever hits full force, which is phenomenal. You know, a year of doctors and medications being thrown at me and tweaking, and I can't say more other than how life-changing that has been for me, to just be able to take that. And it's been awesome. I started with that, and I thankfully have an amazing psychiatrist who's been put over my medication, and she was super gung-ho. Her philosophy is, I don't want you on drugs if I don't have to have you on drugs. So let's get you off if we can. And she was gracious enough to go see Shelly at a conference as well, and we started working together, and little by little we tapered off of some of my medications, and I was probably on 5 or 6 things and some pretty heavy things. I was having to go get blood levels to make sure that my blood was regular with some of the stuff that I was on. So stuff that it's like, I don't want to be on this for my whole life. I don't want to get poked with needles every so often, and I don't have good veins for poking. So this was not something I wanted to do long term by any means. And so as we tapered off some of that and started to, as my mom Donna said, taper on to the aminos little by little and just kind of measure their dosages and kind of see how things would affect what I was already doing and how it would help moving forward. We kind of reached this crosshair, and then it's like, okay, the aminos are working, and we kept going, and last month was the last dose of my antidepressant that I took, and I haven't taken any since. And it has been so awesome. It has been such an awesome feeling, especially since, you know, there were a few times where I'm like, I'm so fed up and I just wanted to taper off, but there is something very addictive about a lot of those antidepressants, and it's scary. It really is. Your brain becomes an addict. And the thing that I love is, even when I miss a day of aminos, just because life does get crazy, and I'm definitely still learning. Taking aminos is not like your typical, okay, take these pills in the morning, 3 in the morning when you wake up, and take it with or without water or with or without food, and then take these ones at bedtime, 200 milligrams. No, it's definitely a little bit more of an art, and you have to take it throughout the day, and that's definitely something that I'm still learning. So I'm totally on an adventure, even still figuring all of this out. But it's so much better, and I don't feel like if I miss some that I'm going to be miserable because I've got an addict's brain because of this medicine keeping me alive, but instead I have something that's supplementing what my brain should be doing and was just having a really hard time doing anyway. So yeah, I love it. And I'm still doing counseling. I'm definitely still recovering. I'm definitely on the other side of that recovery hill, I feel like, in so many ways, but it's still a long time coming. But I definitely am so grateful that I found these, because I don't have to do it with drugs. I can do it in a very natural, healthy way that's going to work with my biology, and it's going to get me there. And like I say, I don't care if, we find out down the road that nothing else works. I will swear by GABA. I will throw it out like candy on the streets, because that is by far my favorite.
I love it. Thank you, Kaylee. I love you.
Love you too.
Thank you for being willing, for sharing. And the thing that I want to really, really emphasize is, especially with Kaylee, is I didn't know this story. I had no clue that this is where she was when I met her, but I was also very, very particular that said, she did tell me what meds she was on, and I was very, very clear that you need to work with your doctor. So they can work together, but you've got to work with a doctor and make sure that they're the ones that are helping you come off of it. And she mentioned that she had a really cool psychiatrist who actually came and did listen to me speak. And afterwards, I thought, this is exactly what the program is. This is how it works, is by working with me and the amino acids and working with the psychiatrist. It's not one or the other. We're a team. And because of that, it works phenomenal. And I appreciate these ladies, because what they're doing is sharing my story with my daughter addiction, with weight, with anxiety and depression. That it kind of gives you a broad understanding that there's something here, and yet nobody really talks about amino acids. One of the things that, and I'm going to go a little bit more into the amino acids. I'm going to share my screen with you for a second. But one of the things that really made me angry is that when I went to the class, I thought, why did I not have this information back when my daughter was 6? Because this information has been used since the 90s. There's other therapists that are using it who started this whole process. And I feel in my heart that if my daughter had been introduced to amino acids at age 6, I don't feel that she would have self-medicated. Now, I obviously can't go back and change this, but that's what my heart tells me, is had she known that. So that's part of my mission, is to get that out there so parents who are struggling with kids who really struggle, that they know that there's other options. And one of the reasons I was so angry is because I called my sister and said, why didn't I have this information? And she said, follow the money trail. pharmaceutical companies don't make money on amino acids. That's the bottom line. And doctors are so busy that they don't really learn everything they need to learn about amino acids. Because in the United States, there's only 25% of the schools, medical schools, that actually teach anything about nutrition. And when they do, it's about 12 hours. So you get a doctor who's very busy, these pharmaceutical reps are coming in all the time and giving them things to use. And so I feel like it's not necessarily, I'm not going to say it's anybody's fault except the fact that the information is just not readily available. So now I want to go in and share with you what we're all talking about. And I hope I know how to share. Do I just share?
Yep.
Oh, I just share. Then I take this away, right?
Yep.
I'll put it down because I don't know what that means. Okay. So what there are different in your brain. You have 4 neurotransmitters: dopamine, serotonin, GABA, and endorphins. Now, I like to call those your happy, calm, feel-good energy chemicals. When they become depleted, then the symptoms can be anxiety, depression, lack of energy, lack of sleep, cravings, addiction, weight gain. All those things can become symptoms. Now, that doesn't mean that that is the only reason why those symptoms come, and I want to clarify that. I'm just saying that when those neurotransmitters become depleted, that is what can happen in your brain. Now, with that, what amino acids are just the building blocks of protein. So the great thing about them is, like I said before, your body either produces them or you get them from an outside source through a supplement or through food. The cool thing is they're already in a form where they're easily digestible. So the great thing is if your body needs them, they're going to feel a difference within 20 minutes or less. That to me is really cool. Plus, they're inexpensive. So those were 2 keys that I thought was really, really cool about what they do. Now, the first one is dopamine. And we're going to pretend like I have a picture of dopamine right here, which would be my dopamine is L-tyrosine, called Energy Booster. And what dopamine does is when your dopamine is good, then you have energy, you have focus, you have drive, and it just makes you feel alive. And when that becomes depleted, then the symptoms are lack of energy, not being able to focus, ADD, all those things that just get you going. And one of the common symptoms of somebody whose dopamine is low is that they crave something for stimulation, which would be coffee or sugar or starches, or if it was an addiction, it would be like meth or cocaine. Those are the things, something that's going to get you going in the morning. Now, this is the one I learned that I was really low in, because in the class, the first thing they asked us is to rate from 0 to 10. 0 meaning I never feel this way, to 10, oh my gosh, I feel this way all the time. And I rated myself as a 10. It was 11 o'clock. All I wanted to do, I was tired, and I wanted to go get me some Good of Plenty's and go take Diet Coke and go take a nap. And when in the class, they gave us, the instructor gave us some tyrosine and then said, rate yourself and see where you are. Well, I went from a 10, meaning all I wanted to do, like I said, was go take a nap and get those candies, to about a 5. And I thought, okay, I'm not quite sure, because when you first start taking them, sometimes it's like a placebo thing. It's like, is this for real or not? So she said, take another one, and I did. And within 20 minutes, I no longer craved the sugar, and I had energy. And I thought, okay, this is really, really cool. I don't understand it, but you know what? Gosh, I feel better. So I took them home to my daughter. At that time, she was on lots of meds, and she was sleeping all the time. And I told her, take one, I had 2 of them. Take one in the morning and one in the afternoon, and let me know how you feel. And I was just crossing my fingers because I knew I had one shot to make this right. I come back that night, said, how do you feel? And she's like, well, I felt jittery. And I thought, dang it, that means that she's sensitive to it. And I was kind of discouraged. Well, the next morning we get up and she's like, Mom, can I have another one of those energy pills? And I said, but you said they make you sleepy. or not sleepy, jittery. And she's like, well, that's because I took 2 of them together with 3 cups of coffee. Well, okay, there's no reason why she was feeling that jittery. But that was the role, is all of a sudden I'm like, okay, this also is helping me and my cravings. And that's what the dopamine does. Now I got to figure out how, it's going to slide to the next one. Next screen. Okay, here we go. The next one is what we call is serotonin. That is a neurotransmitter. And when when your serotonin levels are right, then that's your positive mood, flexibility, being able to be out in public and to socialize, humor. Those are the kind of things when your serotonin is right that you feel. Now, when serotonin becomes depleted, and serotonin follows the light. So most people wake up feeling okay, but it's as the day goes on, as the light goes on, when somebody who suffers from anxiety, depression feels it worse. And because of that, that's that cycle. That's why winter blues are such a real thing, because during the winter, we don't have a lot of sunshine and the sun goes down even faster, and we don't get outside to get any light. So that's why it can become very depleted more in the nighttime. So there's 2 of them. Now, most people that go to get their anxiety, depression, are feeling low, they're going to go to the doctor, get on SSRI. Now, again, I'm not against doctors. I'm not against meds. I think they have their place. The thing I do know about meds is they don't heal you. They put a Band-Aid on things, and they help you through a hard situation, but they don't heal you. What we want to do with amino acids is to work and to help to raise those neurotransmitters to help to balance your brain. And that's what 5-HTP does, and L-tryptophan. So 5-HTP, the one that is mine, is called positive mood. And that's what it does. It helps to reduce anxiety. It helps with mood enhancing. It helps with relaxation. And the other one is tryptophan, and that's the one you take at night, because what happens is tryptophan is a precursor for 5-HTP. And 5-HTP converts to serotonin. Serotonin converts to melatonin. So when your serotonin is low, that's why it's also hard to get enough melatonin to help you to go to sleep and stay asleep. And so what they do is, you know that when you're on a mouse wheel and it's like your thoughts just keep spinning and spinning? Well, that's what the 5-HTP does in the tryptophan, is it helps to stop that spinning. Okay? And it helps to just regulate and make you feel better. And it just makes life that positive feeling about life. And it works wonderful. And the great thing is unless you're on 2 SSRIs, you can start taking the 5-HTP and the tryptophan. And like I said before, it works best if you're working with your doctor. And you'd want to take your SSRI at least 5 hours away from when you take the 5-HTP or the tryptophan, just so there's not a buildup of serotonin. And that just keeps you safe. Now we're going to move on to the DLPA. Now, your endorphins make you happy. And I always like to say, that quote, if you ever saw that show Legally Blonde, where she makes that quote, that there's no way she could have killed her husband because she exercises. Exercise causes endorphins. Endorphins make people happy, and happy people don't kill their husband, right? Well, that's what the endorphins do, is they make you happy. And make an overall feeling of just life just feels good, that happy, calm feeling that life is brighter. Now, one of the symptoms for endorphins, when the endorphins are low, is that it can be sugar, it can be starches, it can be alcohol, it can be a food thing, or it can be a drug or something like that. But it can be an activity. Meaning, when somebody's endorphins are low, they're looking for something to either comfort them, reward them, or numb them out. And that can be anything from social media, being addicted to your phone, being addicted to the internet, TV, pornography, shopping, gaming, gambling, you know, spending money foolishly, having inappropriate relationships with other people, because you're looking for something to just comfort you. As human beings, we're always looking for, we want to be in that state, you know, homeostasis state. And so we're going to look for something to get us there. And also some of the symptoms of having your endorphins low is crying easily for no reason, or excessively, emotional or physical pain, somebody who causes self-harm. Those are a couple of things that happen when the endorphins become low. And because of that, there's what's called DLPA, and what it is D-phenylalanine and L-phenylalanine, and they come together. And L-phenylalanine is a milder form of tyrosine, so it's going to convert from tyrosine to dopamine, which is going to give you a little bit of energy. And it's got the D-phenylalanine, which makes life look brighter. And by doing that, it does what it says, is it brings and makes life feel happier. I forgot to go back. I'm going to go back to the 5-HTP for a second, because I forgot one thing. The craving, if your cravings for 5-HTP are, well, the cravings for, sorry, let's go back. If your serotonin is low, then you may have cravings, excess cravings in the evening or afternoon. So that's when people come home and they want to have something to drink, or they're excessively eating sugars and starches in the afternoon, in the evening time. In fact, I had a client one time that I gave them to her because she wanted the positive mood, and she called me the next day and said, I didn't tell you this, but I have been drinking every single night because I crave the alcohol to help me calm down. And last night was the first night that I hadn't had any alcohol. And I thought that was really awesome that she could see such a difference so quickly. Now you've got GABA, and GABA is like Kaylee said, GABA is like awesome. So now this is GABA, chewable GABA Calm, and it's not. It's called GABA Chill. I have my own line of amino acids, and when I went to trademark them, I didn't realize that GABA Calm had been taken, or Calm had been taken, and so I had a whole set of amino acids, put them in there. And so when I realized that I couldn't trademark them, I changed it to Chill. So anyway, that's what you see. Oops, back up. Sorry about that. What happens is, when you're GABA is that physical feeling of uptight, overstressed, can't come down, not in your stomach, want to bite somebody's head off. Those are the kind of feelings that you feel when your GABA is not working at the level it does. And so the craving for GABA would be you're eating something, you're using something to help you relax. This GABA also has theanine, inositol, and tyrine in it, and the GABA. Now, what the theanine does is theanine actually helps you to focus. For somebody who has ADD, the great thing about GABA is it can calm you down enough to allow your brain to let the theanine take over and let you focus. And I am somebody that has ADD, so I get what that feels like. And it's the great thing about this one is it's chewable. It's orange, and to me it tastes like a pixie stick. I don't know what it tastes like to Kaylee and Donna, but it'd be like a pixie stick, like put into a capsule. So it actually tastes really good. But it doesn't take it very long. I call it like yeah, there you go. Kaylee's showing you what it looks like. And I call it a natural Valium, which is not really Valium because it's not medicine and it doesn't put you to sleep, but it does allow you to calm down. And that one you can take as needed, which is very powerful. The only thing that you watch out for with GABA is that for some, in the cycle of GABA converts to glutamate. Now, glutamate is an excitatory, and we all kind of convert, but we do it in a slow process. For some people, they're more sensitive to that conversion rate, and they'll convert really quickly. And because glutamate is an excitatory, when you're feeling this uptight feeling, that is not when you want to be excited. So if I would always recommend a very low dose, 1 to 2 maximum, but you can take it up to 6 times a day. But by taking a smaller dose, being very conservative, it also helps you so that it doesn't convert as easily. Plus, with the taurine and the N-acetyltheanine in there, it makes it so it converts slower. But it is wonderful. This is like one of my favorites. You know, that uptight feeling when you know you got to do something, you just feel really anxious. Then that's when GABA comes into effect. And the last one is glutamine. And what glutamine is first of all, your body actually produces glutamine. But usually it doesn't produce enough of it, because if it becomes depleted, it works in your brain, it works in your muscles, it works in your stomach lining. So it's very hard because your body needs a lot of it. What glutamine does is it helps with your blood sugar levels. And it keeps, it's a brain cell food. So it's actually feeding your brain what it needs. A lot of times people, their diets are very poor and they're not eating a lot. And that kind of leads us a little bit into why what you eat is so important. Your brain is 65% fat, and it needs to be fed a higher dose of good food. And because in the front of your brain, you have your prefrontal cortex. It's right here. And that's in charge of your cognitive thought processes. Now, your cognitive thought processes says that's your drive, that's your willpower. For somebody who's an addict, that's the tools to keep them from relapsing. It's the, I'm going to make this choice and this is the outcome. Now, when you eat a lot of sugars and starches or you skip meals, you go into that hypoglycemic state. And when you do that, then what happens is you spike, your sugar level spikes, and then you drop. And when that happens, you become irritable and irrational. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have felt it, but you know that hangry feeling, that's a real feeling. When all of a sudden you're like, I don't care what I have, but I'm going to get what I want. Because when you get in that hypoglycemic state, your brain wants whatever it wants the easiest. So for me, that would be sugar. That's when you become very irrational. It's like, I don't care what I have, but even if I am going down and finding sugar cubes, I got to have sugar. Okay. For an addict, what that does is it takes away all their tools to stay clean, and it makes it easy for them to relapse. So it's super, super important. Now, like I said, the best part about it is if your body needs it, you're going to fill it within 20 minutes. It's easily accessible and it's inexpensive. They're inexpensive. Now, I sent out a form. Now, this was the form that I used. And so if you look at this for a minute and just think I'm going to give you a few minutes to kind of figure this out. If you had a chance to fill out the online form, it's pretty cool because now all you do is click it and you submit it, and it's pretty awesome. But I just want you to think for a moment about symptoms that you might be struggling with. And if I had you rate them from 0 to 10, 0, I never feel this way, to 10, oh my gosh, I feel this way all the time, then that's going to give you an idea of what could help, where you're at and what you're struggling with. So like I said, if you had to rate 0 to 10 in serotonin, I'm not going to go through all these because I did send out that form. If you want this, we can talk about it later. But, you know, rate yourself 0 to 10, you know, in the serotonin level, afternoon, evening cravings, negative, thoughts, worry, anxiety, low self-esteem, social anxiety, obsessive thoughts, irritability, dislike winter, suicidal thoughts. If you have a hard time going to sleep at night, if you have a hard time staying asleep, if you can answer any of those higher than 5, then that's a good inclination that your serotonin might be low. If you move on to the next level, which says low catecholamines, which is dopamine is one of those of the catecholamines, and that's where we focus on raising your energy. But if you can rate 0 to 10 with cravings for stimulation, meaning to get you going, you crave that caffeine or sugar or starches or the meth, or somebody who takes Wellbutrin or Adderall. Those are the kind of things that when your dopamine is low, if you rate any of these, lack of energy, lack of sleep, lack of drive, those all are for the neurotransmitter dopamine. And we move down to GABA, and if you can rate 0 to 10, higher on the 5 to 10 with wanting to relax or feeling stressed, burned out, can't calm down, then that's where you're going to GABA. And then the last one will be endorphins, and that is, are you feel like you cry a lot, or if you're using something to calm you down or reward or numbness. Those just tell you on a scale from 0 to 10. If you find yourself in 5s and 10s and above, then that's a good inclination that amino acids could be your answer. And if that's the case, you can get a hold of me, and we can work through something and see how it's going to work for you. Okay, we already talked about the our food and why food is so important, but protein is really, really important. No, we didn't talk about those. Sorry, we're gonna go back here. Okay, so you really want a diet that is filled with protein, at least 3 servings a day with good vegetables and good fats. By doing that, it keeps your sugar level balanced, and it makes it so that it's feeding your brain what it needs. Okay, now when we go back to my clients that I talked about in the first place, the ones that were blocked and couldn't figure out what it was wrong with them, this is what I figured out was the missing link. So it's kind of like a 3-legged stool or a triangle, but you all seen a 3-legged stool where on a 3-legged stool, all of the legs have to be strong for that stool to stand. Well, that's the same thing with us. When our mind and our brain and our body are all strong, that's where optimal health comes in. So that's why the 3 of them together work so well, because then we're balancing our brain with amino acids, nourishing our body with a nutrient-rich diet, and releasing negative thoughts and emotions through hypnotherapy. And the 3 of them together is powerful. Now, I have my own line of amino acids. And the way this came out is last year, when I was so excited, I went and spoke in March in Mesa. And I would tell my clients, this is what you need. Now go to the health food store and buy them. And I'd give them some samples, and I'd call them a couple days later and say, how do you feel? And they'd say, well, I really haven't even gone to the health food store to buy some. And I would think, okay, wait a minute, I just told you what's going to help you, and you can't even go to the health food store to get them. The other thing is I thought, well, wait a minute, I don't even know really what I'm sending them out to get, or what kind really is the best. And I had one of my mentors say to me, why are you sending everybody to the health food store? Why don't you get your own? Well, I didn't know that you could get your own amino. I didn't know you could get your own supplements. Did you guys? I had no idea. And yes, you can. So I came back, did some research, and found a manufacturer that's out of Orem. And the great thing is because they're made with the guidelines that are accepted in the United States, I like that. I know that the ingredients are natural, and I know what's in them. And I have them so that I can make sure that my clients make sure they have them. So that is why they're called Shelly Jo Hypno Aminos Nutrition. And if you look and see, you've got L-tyrosine, which is energy booster, DLPA, which is happy, GABA chill, glutamine, L-glutamine, which is craving control. No, it's not. Sorry, that's the other one that's called Craving Be Gone, because craving control was taken also on trademark, and I didn't know that. I know now. L-tryptophan is positive sleep, and 5-HTP is positive mind. And by utilizing these, this is what is going to help. By feeding your brain, it changes your life. Now, I'm going to open it up now for any questions. If anybody's got any questions or comments, I would love to help you and visit with you, and then I can send you on your way. Any questions or anything? You can unmute yourself if you'd like to. Yes?
So one thing that I would like to mention with this that my psychiatrist talked about, because in addition to this, even though I'm off my meds, there are still a couple of other supplements that I have to take. One of them, it's N-acetyl acid, NAC is what they call it for short, and that is something that helps with my OCD. But something that I was told with that specifically is you have to be careful with supplements, because unlike pharmaceuticals, they aren't as well regulated. So there can be a huge variance statistically in how much of a supplement is in one from the other. So kind of what you've explained here, these are how yours work, and they work phenomenally. But if you were to go somewhere else, they may work totally and completely differently, even though it claims to be the exact same thing, milligram for milligram. And so that's just kind of one thing that if you are kind of looking to try it out, to be wary of, just because that's kind of the nature of the beast in this industry. Unfortunately, it isn't as well regulated. I mean, personally, obviously, I love your aminos and I wouldn't go elsewhere, but that's just something to keep in mind, that kind of like you that just was brought to my mind when you mentioned that you had started by sending people elsewhere, is you can have very different results from one product to another, even though it claims to be the exact same thing.
I appreciate that, Kaylee. And I always tell people I like them because I think they're pretty. So I know that's not why you buy supplements, but I really think they're pretty. So on top of the fact that I really am passionate about what I do and what I teach. Now, there are some cofactors, which are some of the vitamins that are very important to take along with them to make them so that they're absorbed better. Multivitamin, some omega-3s, if you, especially to feed your brain. The fish oil is actually a natural antidepressant, that by taking, you'll start out with a high dose and then kind of taper down, but it's going to help feed your brain really quickly. B6, I also recommend some magnesium and some zinc, just to make sure that your amino acids are being absorbed correctly. Now, I'm still going to allow you some questions. When we're all done, if you're interested in getting with me and having either an amino acid consultation or looking into doing that along with hypnotherapy, there are a couple of programs that are available to you. First of all, I always offer a personal consultation. Now, normally I offer it for $49. It's usually 30 minutes to 45 minutes, depends on how long it takes. I can do it either person or through Zoom. But for this class, those who sign up, it'll be $25. And then you could look at which of those amino acids, if these are what you want, or you can figure out what you need from there. And then if you say, well, I want to do hypnotherapy, then I include the amino acid consultation in the hypnotherapy program. I charge $125 for a hypnotherapy client, one visit, or 4 for $347. And that can also be through Zoom. And by adding all of them together, the outcome is phenomenal. So anybody have any more questions or any comments? If not, you can reach out
I think you have a slide with all that information on it.
Thank you. Yep, I keep flipping back and forth right there.
Thank you.
Except for this is not the same, because this is only a mini consultation that I do at the energy healing conferences. So the one I do here, I do in person or on Zoom, is $25, and that's for 30 to 45 minutes. So, anything else? Thank you, Deborah, for reminding me. I kept flipping back and forth, and that's because I'm trying to figure out how to use these slides. But, Kaylee, Donna, anything you want to add to this?
Well done, ladies. Thanks for letting me join.
Thank you, Deborah.
So,
I I would just say, I think the the consultation for $25 is absolutely well worth the information. Even if you decide aminos aren't for you, the information that Shelly provides is invaluable and will be very, very helpful.
Thanks, Gal. Anything else? I'm going to stop sharing now and come back out to, here we go.
Okay.
Kaylee, anything else you'd like to add to that?
I think that's it. I mean, just if you're looking to do something, whether it be a small change or a big change that you're looking for something in your life, this is not a bad path to look at. It has made some huge life changes in my life and my mom's life, and I mean, I'm excited to see where it takes us. This has just been in the first couple of months. I'm excited to see what happens in the next few years as we keep going at it. So don't be afraid to take the jump is what I'd say.
Excellent. Thank you, ladies. Anybody who watches this now, who's watched it either live or watches the replay, if you want any information, you can reach out to me at, you can either go to my website, which is www.hypnoaminos.com, or you can send me an email, which is shellyjohypno@gmail.com, or you can text me. And the number is in those, you can look it up either on my website or message me. I really appreciate you guys listening. I am very, very passionate about getting this message out because I see what it does for people. I see how it helps them. And I know that it makes a difference. And they can be used for children ages 5 and above in half doses. And the results are phenomenal. And like I said before, had I known about this when my daughter was 6, I really in my heart feel like she would not have self-medicated. But it's time to make a difference and to see that, you know what, there are simple solutions and they come simply in simple ways, and life matters and your life matters. And in the meantime, guys, keep smiling. Have a great day. Mwah.